Hey, Cam.
Oh, hey, Kimmy, what's up?
Not much. Hey, I was just wondering, have you ever seen Coraline?
Sweet Coraline, bum bum bum. Good times never felt so good.
I have not actually seen Coraline, but I love that book. That book's great.
Hello, friends of the podcast. I am guest host Kimmy, or Kim.
Welcome back.
It is good to be back.
And I'm Myles.
And I'm Cam. I am the victim this time instead of Myles.
Alright, so as we tried to introduce, yes, we actually watched Coraline, which is a, surprisingly enough, considering how it looks and the motif, was not directed by Tim Burton. It was actually directed by Henry Selick, and is based off of the novella by Neil Gaiman.
Mm-hmm.
So, Cam, what did you think of Coraline?
I really enjoyed it. This is a movie that I have known about ever since it came out. It came out just as we were graduating high school, I think. Well, us. I think Myles had already graduated by then. So I remember seeing ads for it and being super excited because I read the book.
Oh yeah.
And the book was great. And so and the animation and everything, I remember seeing the trailer and going, that looks like it's going to be great, because animation seems the best way to really capture the essence of what you have in the book.
Oh, absolutely. I think the main selling point for me is the fact that they used stop motion. And just because the style of how stop motion works, I think works fantastically well for something like Coraline, considering when you read the book, again by Neil Gaiman, you actually get to see some illustrations in there, and the fact that the team made sure to make all of those models as perfectly alike as they are in the book, I thought was absolutely fantastic. And I feel like stop motion, I feel like no better style of direction does it better than something like stop motion, in my opinion.
I mean, it's true, but you guys are missing one of the most important things that made Coraline successful. And that's the fact it was one of the first 3D animated movies.
Oh, that's right.
You guys totally missed that.
Oh my god.
I actually forgot about that.
And it was the first well done one, because there were a couple beforehand and they weren't that good. But this one really stood out.
Because this was at the same time that Avatar came out. And so you had a live act, because Avatar was the first 3D movie to really go into the whole, we created a world that is 3D and not do the,
individual scenes.
Yeah. Well, not even just that. I mean, more in the whole gotcha, just throw things out at you to give you that 3D effect.
Yeah.
As I try to illustrate that in this
I'm looking at
non-visual
I'm looking
medium.
at you, Spy Kids 3D.
Hey, Spy Kids 3D was funny. It gave us, Sylvester Stallone just totally being okay with being a parody of himself and just going all in on it.
Those movies were just so campy.
And that's fine, because they knew that, and they
did.
Dwelled
they owned
in
it. They absolutely did own it.
But you're right, Myles, about the 3D but we don't get that, because who has a 3D TV?
It's true.
Well, dang, I guess we should have watched it at your house then instead of at mine.
Why didn't you offer, Myles?
Because I don't have the glasses.
Well,
I can do it because I have a plasma TV. I have a really fast refresh rate. So you can actually do 3D stuff on there.
Really?
But you have to have the proper glasses and have everything set up right.
Well, I mean,
it's just not worth it.
Well, I know that I have some of those real 3D glasses from the movie theater.
They have to be charged. And they have to actually be synced.
Okay, so then those ones wouldn't work.
So it's just this massive hassle of a thing.
Yeah, and I did for a long time have actually I think I still have it. I have a NVIDIA 3D Vision
Oh my goodness.
computer gaming screen
Oh my-
with a set of glasses.
Oh my god, he
Oh my
does
goodness, he
have
really
it.
does.
That's
yes,
amazing.
for all of you people listening at home, yes.
We'll include pictures that we'll put up on Instagram and
Over on
Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
But this is just the gaming glasses wear and the syncing device. I do have the screen at my house, or at my apartment, I should say, hooked up to my computer because I use it as a spare monitor.
That's amazing.
All right,
I'm not gonna lie.
so...
I would get so sick so easily with those.
You know what? I thought I would too, because I'm not a humongous fan of most 3D stuff, but I found that this was actually very tolerable because you are actually in control of your character.
Oh.
So that does kind of help you out if you play like first-person shooter stuff like I do.
Okay,
right.
So if you play a third-person game and you're used to the fact that you're moving your character, it doesn't give you so much what do you call that? Car sickness, motion sickness.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because
Get that vertigo
your body's used to the idea of you moving and seeing something move.
Okay, because I get super motion sickness when like the camera starts like jerking around like crazy, and it's just like
As we have learned in the past, right?
yes.
One other thing that I'll actually mention about this, I got this when I started to play Left 4 Dead,
Oh, nice.
and it is so fun to be playing Left 4 Dead in 3D.
I feel like that would be really fun to use when you're playing like Dead by Daylight.
Oh,
Oh, it could be, yeah.
probably.
Actually, it could be useful in some cases because you can now gauge your jumps. You have a little bit of depth perception.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be careful with it because the depth perception is actually on a slider.
Oh.
Let's get back on
yeah.
topic.
Yes, back to Coraline.
Sweet Coraline.
All right, so I think we should definitely ask Cam, did you have a favorite part of the movie?
Oh, not yet.
Oh.
That's all spoilers.
Oh.
We're not there yet.
Yes.
Let's ask Cameron the question. Did you enjoy this movie?
Well, we
yes.
already covered that one.
Would you
And-
recommend it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now,
I'm trying to think of. Well, I mean, this is one of the few kind of animated movies. Well, okay, that's not true. Most of the animated movies that we've watched, I think, outside of the Plague Dogs, are all ones that I would go, everyone should watch this.
so I was actually going to ask you about that because this is a more children's horror, and they kind of consider Plague Dogs to be a child's horror
Yeah.
for some strange reason. Would you say that they're on the same level? Would you say that they're totally different? Would you say that it's like maybe baby steps or something to get there?
I feel like this is around the time that I could bring up a quote that was brought to us thanks to another friend, because I was like, "Oh yeah, we're doing Coraline. You know, this is going to be a whole lot of fun." And he said to me, "Oh, did you know that Coraline, the book, almost wasn't published because they said it was too scary for kids?" And so Neil Gaiman gave a manuscript to, I think it was like his manager's daughter or something. Oh no, she had 2 kids, and they read them, and it was and the basically, if they're not terrified by it, then we will publish it, and we won't have to do huge revisions to it or anything like that. And they came back and they loved it. And then when he was meeting them at a book signing or something, he said, "I guess I have you to thank for this being published."
Aww.
And because you loved it so much. And then they said, "Oh, I was terrified by this, but I had to keep reading it because I wanted to know how it was going to end. I couldn't stop."
That's amazing.
That's how I think more media needs to go.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely. When
so-
you're just like, I this is scary, but I need to know how this ends, then you know that you've done right.
Yeah.
I guess we should also introduce everybody. This is the start of our spooky special for
Yes,
October.
that's right. It's
Oh.
October. Woo.
Yes. So this will be the first one. The next thing that we're going to put up is...
We're doing creepypastas next.
yes, we are. Some creepypastas. And we'll be joined by Jordan for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we're going to check out...
Well, we're going to be checking out some, we're going to be watching The Thing with Steven.
That's the last one.
And then there was another thing we were going to do that was Channel something?
Channel Zero with
Channel
Gareth.
Zero with Gareth. Okay.
Actually, I think we might swap the thing with Gareth
we'll
because
see how that works
timeline things happen, and it's a fairly long special.
For those of you that are listening in the future, this doesn't matter anymore.
You can just catch right up with it.
Exactly. But yeah, so based off of a child's endorsement of it, I would say that everyone should watch this movie.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And like, I think on a note of that, the whole thing about, again, like these children were like, this was creepy, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's just very interesting how that translates into the movie, because the movie, yes, the things in it, they appear kind of creepy, but they're also incredibly fantastical. As compared to if we were reading it in the book, it's more of this kind of feeling that you as the readers get of like, this doesn't seem right. Which, yeah, it doesn't very much come out in the movie, because the movie is more like, oh, this is amazing. It's kind of weird, but this is totally like an awesome place I would love to be in. So I find that actually like a very interesting just kind of contrast between the two, of just how the words give you a very different feel as to the visuals of the movie.
It's interesting that you say that, because it reminds me of of another British writer, Alan Moore.
Mm-hmm.
He has never been happy with any of the film adaptations or really like visual medium adaptations of a lot of his comics. I only really know this because someone sent me like something recently about it, and this was like an interview that he gave, and his whole thing, again, talking about how he didn't like any of the adaptations of any of his stuff, and he just said, the thing is, I wrote it for a written medium, and now you're changing it to make it into a visual medium, and that is not how I wrote it. So of course I'm not going to like it, because it's not the same thing. It's something completely different. And it's the same thing here. You have to adapt it. You have to make it appealing in different ways, because you're doing a film now instead of it being a book. So of course there's going to be differences there.
So one thing that reminds me of is listening to Scary Stories Told in the Dark by Otis Jairi. That's how I listen to most of my creepypastas. He actually has a bit of a disclaimer that he says through most of the series he does, saying that he's not doing the exact creepypasta. He is taking some creative liberties to change it, because he is doing a spoken medium instead of a written read one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be something that you might catch by how something is written instead of how it is said. And he's trying to help move with that. So it is an important thing to remember that all medias are different.
It's
yes,
true.
exactly.
But I think overall the fact that they still tried to capture the spirit of the book was incredibly impressive in my opinion. Like
starting with, I mean, just going from they literally took like the way the drawings were done in terms of just how everybody looks, each individual character.
Oh, even like the cat, like they did a pretty good
the
job of that, right?
I think we're getting too far into the spoiler territory for everybody.
All right.
So I'm going to reel this back and push us forward.
Yep.
And we'll listen to a quick little song, but definitely not Neil Diamond. And we'll come back and see you guys in spoiler territory.
There's something weird about the way she speaks to me. There's something strange about the flavor of her tea. She's glaring angrily, turns out the meal wasn't free. She's some kind of spy girl, some kind of spy girl.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're now in spoiler territory. Let's continue on. Let's start with the story.
All right. So the overall plot is that Coraline is about this girl, Coraline Jones, who moves into this new house called the Pink Palace with her parents.
It's in Pontiac, or no, it's not from. They moved from Pontiac, Michigan to Ashland, Oregon.
That's a bit of a trek.
Yes. This is why she's not happy. Her friends are so far away.
Like that's the equivalent of moving from like Alberta to Ontario.
What about our European visitors? You gotta do a good.
Okay, so that would probably be like, say you were living in
Britain,
and then you moved to Germany.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Huh.
It's a long ways.
Anyway, so when Coraline moves into the Pink Palace, it's very dreary. Her parents are too busy working. So she's just kind of miserable being there. She has other neighbors that are just kind of really
Weird.
eccentric. And she...
Can't seem to get her name right.
Yeah, and none of them can't seem to get her name right. They keep calling her Caroline, which is understandable.
Yeah, because they all care about her.
Aww.
No, none of that. But eventually, after just trying to pretty much amuse herself as one does when you're a single child, but you don't have much to do because you're technically still unpacking and you're in a really old house, she decides to go out and explore, which is where she encounters Wyborn, whose grandma owns the Pink Palace.
Yep.
And Wyborn...
Wybe love it.
Well, Wybe is his nickname. That's what he likes everybody to call him instead of being Wyborn or Wybe-born, as Coraline likes to keep saying.
Yep.
Basically.
Because she's kind of not a nice person.
Yeah, she's a little mean-spirited.
She is, in fact, very spiteful. Like, it's kind of understandable because, again, her parents moved her.
And far.
Yeah, far away.
Well, her parents moved her, and then there's her relationship with her parents, both of them.
So,
yeah.
Can I spoil something totally crazy about this for you?
Oh, what's that?
So, around this time, we actually see a portrait of Coraline with her family, and she actually has brown hair.
Oh, wait, really?
Yes, and it looks fairly recent as well, which means that she probably got to dye her hair blue because her parents moved.
Oh. You know, I didn't even notice that.
Of course.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a nice background detail.
There's a lot of really big background details that I'm going to show to you guys or like inform you guys, and you're going to like realize there's a lot to this show. There's a lot to this show. You already know that there's a lot, but there's even more.
Right? So, like, after this, I'd probably go rewatch it just to, like, see if I could, like, pin out all of this stuff. That's pretty great.
While she makes an acquaintance with Wyborn, Wybe,
as well as the stray cat that lives in the area.
I like to call him Malcolm.
Why?
Because he reminds me of my old cat, Malcolm.
Oh, all right. So I guess for this, we will call the cat Malcolm.
And it just works because it's also the name of Sabrina the Teenage Witch's cat.
Is it?
No, that's Salem.
Oh, that's Salem.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm like, what?
What? There's another black cat named Malcolm. Was that Hocus Pocus?
No, because that's Thackeray Binks.
That's right. There has to be one.
Well, they keep calling him Binks, probably because saying Thackeray sounds weird.
I don't know. I just keep calling my cat Thackeray, honestly.
I mean, you can do
you
that
might ask
if you
to
choose.
take that Thackeray.
Okay, so
let's carry on and
so the cat.
Yes.
Let's carry on and talk about some of the other things that go on here.
All right. So
around this time.
So again, we are introduced to the people that Coraline is going to encounter most of the time that she's here. And then one day, Wybe drops off a package for her of a doll that he found in a trunk, I believe, in his grandma's house.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That has a doll that looks just like her. So Coraline decides to just, carry this doll with her because what else is she going to do, right?
She's got a friend now because I don't know. She seems to have, she takes to the doll more than she takes to like literally anyone else breathing.
You know why, right? It was inspired by Pixar. Because you got a friend in me.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
You guys are walking into these.
I know we are.
I mean, I guess so, but
You're walking into this like A Costco food court.
You know, I mean,
Anyway.
Let's carry on,
In
then.
addition to finding that, there,
The doll eventually leads Coraline to the secret door.
Yes. So Coraline eventually finds like a weird like thing in her wall that definitely looks like some kind of door. Only
'cause it is a
to
door.
But only to discover when her mom tries to open with a key, which for some reason she specifically chooses the one that has like a weird button on it out of all the keys in the drawer. I'm just saying. To open this little door, only to find it bricked off.
I feel that she went with that one because all of the other keys that were in the drawer, they look like keys.
They look
as
very
we
modern.
think of yes, as we think of them. And the only one that looked like it would work for the keyhole
was the button.
was the one that has the button attached to it.
So yes, turns out door is bricked off. So no door for Coraline.
Inspiration from the Winchester Mansion. Yep.
What?
The Winchester Mansion. Don't you know the tale of the Winchester Mansion?
What's that?
So,
What am I getting myself into?
When the man who created the Winchester lever-action rifle passed away, he had a mansion because of how much his rifles were loved.
Mm-hmm.
So when he died, his wife was actually a big superstitious person, had a psychic in, and the psychic told her that all of the firearms used, or everybody that was killed by the firearms that they made, the Winchester firearms, was going to come and haunt her, unless she managed to build a mansion big enough to contain them all. Now, because she was like such a devoted occultist, I'm going to use the term, she ended up doing this and getting people to come in and work on this mansion. And they started to make floor plans, and she started to change things, and then they'd have like staircases that would lead up to just the ceiling, or you would open up a window and you would look through it and it would be into another room. And doors would open up and it would just be plastered off. And that was to confuse the ghosts and make sure that they can't find her and keep them trapped. Let's carry on with Coraline here. And this is part where Coraline goes to sleep and wakes up because there's a mouse at her door.
Oh, yes.
So she follows the mouse to the door and opens it up. And this is where we got our first real good 3D experience of watching that tube open up and expand outwards.
So one of the things that we kind of, I forgot to mention, I apologize, is that one of her eccentric neighbors is trying to run a mouse circus.
Yes. You're talking about...
Mr. Bobinski?
Yeah, Mr. Bobinski, which... Fun fact from him. You know the medal he has on his chest?
Yes.
You know what that's for?
No, what is it?
Is that actually like one of those hero of the Soviet Unions or something?
Yes,
yeah.
But it's a very specific one.
I don't remember which.
For something that Cameron and I should definitely know about, because it's involved with one of the games that we play a lot.
Oh, God.
Yes, that's right. I'm
it
talking about a Chernobyl cleanup.
I was like, oh no.
That would explain why his face is blue.
That's why his whole body is blue. He was actually a liquidator of the supplies.
Ooh.
And he helped get rid of it and collect it all.
That explains a lot. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That explains why he's blue, like Dr. Manhattan.
So I don't think he was. I don't know if he was actually Russian or if he was Ukrainian. But he's actually wearing one of the pins that was, or one of the ribbons that was given to those who helped with the Chernobyl cleanup.
Right.
See, and that is another fun fact brought to you by Myles of the Day.
Well, it's kind of interesting that as soon as you were just like, we should know about that, I'm sitting there going, so this is probably one of those heroes of the Soviet Union, but I don't remember which specific one it is. Oh, that makes sense.
So, and the reason why you should know this is because it's a very similar badge to what the Monolith use.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, I only saw the movie one time, all right?
Movie, it's game.
No, I mean... Noticing
what
Mr. Bobinski was wearing.
But
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Fair enough.
All right, but yeah, so when Coraline goes through this door, all of a sudden she's in what looks like her house, but it's not.
It's another house.
It's the other house.
And this is where she gets to meet the other mother.
Who looks exactly like her own mother.
But she smiles.
And has buttons.
And
Has buttons instead of eyes.
yes, and there's another detail that you guys may have missed. I don't know if you guys would really catch on to this. Coraline's mother's nose is actually crooked. The other mother's is straight.
Actually, yeah, now that you mention it, I do remember that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about if I noticed that. I think I may have just been too distracted by the fact that other mother smiles, like, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself was very kind of creepy.
Well, if you were going to get food, a guest, you would be happy too.
I mean, you say that, but considering how both her parents were, like, I don't know.
Yeah, they're stressed.
There's
Oh, they're very
I
stressed.
mean, I'm not saying that other mother has got one of those like black hole sun type of like really creepy, obviously fake smiles, but it was off-putting, which is appropriate, I think.
No, there wasn't pudding, it was dinner.
Anyway, so yes, Coraline meets the other mother, who is just very cheerful and, as Cameron would say, off-putting with because she's always smiling, and everything just seems like super happy. And other mother is just like so happy to see her, and Coraline is, of course, very confused as to what exactly is happening here, as one would be when there's a person who looks like your mom with button eyes.
Yeah, not even getting into the who are you and what have you done with my mother in terms of personality. There's just like, what happened up here?
See, I was going to go, no! What did you do with her, you damn dirty sowers?
My mother, what big buttons you have for eyes.
What big button eyes you have.
All the more too.
Wait.
I
Does this
can't
mean-
actually see. Are you in front of me? I can't tell. I don't.
Does this mean that the other mother was as cute as two buttons?
Probably, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Okay.
it is definitely fair to go that direction, yes.
Very afraid to go to the restaurant. Yes. Other mother is just very accommodating. She's like, oh, we're having this fantastic dinner. Go get your father. So she goes and finds the other father, and he's just also super cheerful. He's playing the piano, and he's just like full of jokes and other things, and just completely the opposite of her real dad. The other thing to make very much note about this movie is that everything in Coraline's home, back in her actual home, is very gray. It's very gloomy. It's just very dark in terms of like colors and things like that. But here, everything is just incredibly colorful, bright, and just fantastical. And there's just this fantastic feast.
It's a nice warm feeling.
Exactly, as compared to the cold, dark grays of home.
It doesn't rain in the other world.
Unless you want it to.
Yeah.
Because the mother is the one who reigns. Ha ha ha!
No.
You know, you're not wrong.
I mean, right?
As we discover.
Yeah. But basically, this whole world just seems to be completely curated to Coraline in every single way. So, of course...
Right down to the garden.
Exactly. But so she's like super happy to be here, and she goes to sleep in like her bed because she just absolutely loves it there.
You forgot about the whole garden part where the father takes her to the garden, right?
No,
No,
that's
the next
That is the
night.
next part,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
the first night is that they have the fantastical dinner.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And she's just so overwhelmed that she just goes to bed.
Yeah, after like all the excitement, she goes to bed. Oh, the other thing I also forgot to mention, because we were just kind of going through a summary. There is a part where Coraline decides to make a dowsing rod near the start of the movie, which is how she finds what appears to be a fairy ring. For those of you that don't know what a fairy ring is, it's usually when you have like a circle of mushrooms together. They call it a fairy ring.
Because that's where fairies would come from, is what they thought. It was
Yeah.
considered a portal to another world.
Exactly. But as YB told her, is that you don't want to step on that because it's basically a well that nobody knows how deep it is.
Well, it's said to go down so deep that when you look up, you see
There's
stars in
stars.
daylight.
Yeah.
Because the light bounces and refracts, and it doesn't allow you to
won't
see
go
the
down
blue.
far
Yeah.
enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, again, anyway, so it turns out that dowsing rod was actually poison oak. And the other mother just, she puts like this healing mud on her hand.
Healing salve.
Healing
Yeah.
salve on her hand. Sends her off to bed, nice and cozy. And Coraline goes to sleep. But when she wakes up, she's back in her house. So, of course, she's wondering, was this some kind of, crazy dream? Until she sees her hand and realizes, holy smokes,
It
well,
works.
it wasn't a dream. So, of course, she has to tell her parents, and her parents just don't believe her, because that's super crazy.
They're busy.
They're busy.
They're busy, yes. They are very busy people.
Her dad has a business in the oven, and her mom's working at the adult factory. Business is being done. It is on the go. But in reality, they're actually writers, and they write about gardens and that, and they're trying to get all of their paperwork in order so that way they can get a paycheck. So,
And what's even weirder is, again, the whole you don't garden. So how the heck are you don't want to go out and get in the mud and actually fiddle around in a garden. So what the heck do you know about gardening?
that was just female teenage sass.
Well,
Can you agree with that, Kimmy?
Yeah.
I don't think
I was good compared to my sister, but no, my sister gave my parents a lot of sass.
Well, Coraline's not a teenager. She's only like 10 or 11 or something.
Yeah, she's getting there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my
fine.
niece is like, when my niece was like about the age, she started giving my sister sass. Okay,
All right, fair enough. But
especially girls. Girls like, yeah, they mature faster than boys, so they tend to give more sass at younger ages.
Yeah, girls give sass, boys get angst. We hate the world.
yeah.
It's against us. We're gonna fight it, and we're gonna win every time.
Fight the power.
Fight the old people.
Well, yeah. Well, so in addition to, I guess, bothering her parents, and instead they just go, okay, you need to go and get the heck out of here, go visit our neighbors. Because I think, this is the day that she goes and she visits the two ladies, right?
Nope. First of all, she goes and visits Sergeant Alexander Bobinski.
Oh, so she did go see Babinski the first. Okay.
No, that was the second day. The third day she sees the...
Well, we're the day after in terms of she went to the other world, right?
Yeah. Mm.
Now she goes and she visits the ladies, right?
After initial contact is what we're called. The
Yeah.
day after
Okay.
initial contact, she sees the Sarge. And then she goes down to see the next characters.
Yes.
Yes.
So the next neighbors that that Coraline has are these two, like, I guess they're older ladies, that are very much into like the theater and things like that.
Okay, you can say old ladies. They
Yeah.
are like...
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
seven-
they
oh yeah,
are,
they
yes.
are old ladies. Yeah, they are,
And they are just
past-
roommates.
They're past their prime.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Is like very much the implication.
Yeah. But I think the most unsettling thing about them is that they taxidermy every single one of their dogs.
Every Yorkie they've ever had.
They
And that's just, that's another one of those things where it doesn't matter what medium it's in. That's messed up. I understand why they do it, but I'm just saying that for me, I'm just like, that's creepy.
I
It's
think-
not just your keys. It's their keys.
I think the other kind of unsettling thing, though, is that they dress them all in little angel costumes.
Well,
But what are you
going
going to do? Just leave them out?
They only do that when it's getting close to their time.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
when they do it. They don't just always have them dressed up. It's only when it's approaching their time that I guess it's like a ritual.
Yeah.
So these two are named April Spink and Miriam
Miriam?
Miriam Forcible. And
Very
they do
forcible.
cryptically warn her about this imminent danger, which leads to a theory
That,
that they've actually already knew that this was going to happen
oh.
because they are kind of occultists.
Well, that's true. The other thing is that you actually get to see the tea leaves, and again, like it looks like this kind of like
Mhm.
clawed hand.
No, it's a giraffe. What are you talking about?
It's clearly a giraffe,
That was great.
or a tall, handsome
They
man.
just want her to join Imgur. Okay?
Or you know,
So-
it could also be a tall, handsome man. That was also one of the possibilities.
It
So
was.
I'm going to say this right now because that's one of the few things that I do kind of... So, I mean, there are illustrations in the book. There's not a lot of them, though. They're very choice, though.
Actually, that hand is in the book.
Yeah, but but all they say, because like the dialogue is directly lifted,
Mhm.
oh, I think it's just a giraffe
Mhm.
and that sort of thing. But they don't show that in the illustrations. That's just written. So it's kind of like this offhand, you know, kind of bickering between
Mhm.
sort of thing. But in the movie instead, because it's visual, you can just be like, hey, look at that. I actually can
Yeah,
kind
you
of
can
see how
flip
it's a
it
giraffe.
over.
They actually flip the image over, so it looks like a hand coming out of the ground.
Mhm.
It's flipped over, and then it looks
And
like
then
the
you're
legs
like,
of
oh,
a
wow, look at
giraffe.
that. It is a giraffe.
Yeah.
Which I did very much like as well.
Like, I
But-
don't necessarily know. Again, I feel that that's perhaps one of those things where people say it's not as dark as the book is because they're very specific. Like Neil Gaiman was very specific about what illustrations were there.
Mhm.
I mean, because it's his book.
Exactly.
Whereas when you're doing something like this, and it's like, well, if we're going to lift all this out of here, I mean, what the heck? Why not show how it actually looks like a giraffe? And now it's kind of funny.
Now, I can see what
Disarming, I think
Disarming,
is
yeah.
more accurate, yeah.
I can see what you're saying there, Cameron, but I don't think the book is as dark as the movie because the book is on white and the movie's actually fairly dark background.
I saw that coming. This is gonna go great when we get to the end of the movie too.
So, despite those warnings, Coraline goes to visit the other world a couple more times.
Well,
and
don't forget that
visits-
she keeps seeing the cat too.
yes.
Yeah.
So she keeps running into
Malcolm.
Malcolm. Yes, she keeps running into Malcolm as well. Which she's just, you know. Also, we have we also have YB that is just like, hey, my grandma's really angry because she wants her doll. Like she found out about the doll and was wondering if I could have it back. And Coraline says straight up, no. She's just very rude to YB, like she always is. And she just kind of angrily leaves because she absolutely hates it there as compared to the other world.
Well, I don't think she has the doll with her at this moment, and so it's not that she wasn't going to hand it over. It's
No,
just
she
that
just didn't
I don't
yeah.
have
want
it,
to.
so I'll get it to you later.
There, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
kind of just brushed off.
Oh, yeah. So,
Mhm,
yeah. So that night she goes again back to the other world. And of course it's just as fantastical as it was before. There's this amazing garden outside for her that just has all these amazing things. Her other father is on like this praying mantis like lawnmower thing. And of
It's
course,
cool.
It was a really beautiful scene.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Especially in 3D, it was really nice
Mhm.
because you got to see all the flowers that are around, the dragon snaps that are like tickling and kissing her, and then she kind of carries on, and the tractor drags along, and all the flowers behind it get planted, and then they somehow get brought up in a like hot air balloon or something, and they're up high looking down at the garden, and it's Coraline's face.
What it is the hump of the tractor turns into a helicopter propeller,
Mhm.
That's what
and
it
then
was.
it goes up.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of the things where like you kind of lose that whole this is really creepy and this is unsettling because you look at something like this and you can't help but say that's really cool.
Mhm.
I wish something like that would happen in real life.
So, one thing that I will kind of say about this whole ideology that you are presenting
Mm-hmm.
is I feel like this movie is actually portrayed more from the eyes of Coraline
Mm-hmm.
than the book is written.
Yes.
Because the book written in third person or first person?
Third person.
It's third person.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, of course, the all-knowing mighty author is going to point out how creepy everything looks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But as a kid who comes from something that's so dull and drab,
Mhm.
anything is better than nothing. You're not
Mhm.
going to notice the over-smiling that the other mother does.
Mhm.
Or the
Or
fact that
you might at first, but then you get lulled into that false
The
sense of
food.
security, right?
the milkshake dispenser, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's
The
fantastic.
freaking-
The gravy
uh,
train.
The gravy train. Oh my god.
Yeah, some of us have to marry to get that. She was just given it.
Or even the fact that when she's going to bed, all of her stuffed animals are talking.
Her friends are talking to her.
They're
and
like
through
her
the paper.
pictures.
Yeah,
Sugar,
right,
yeah.
right. And then what the heck was it? The dragonflies that were like, what do you call that?
Oh, that is
Like
it.
a chandelier, not a chandelier.
No, but
It's like a mobile. Like a mobile.
Yeah.
Like, like those baby mobiles.
Yeah. And sometimes you would just like put that like around your bed or something
Mhm.
like that to kind of give you like a similar effect, right?
Mhm.
But instead, now the dragonflies are real and they're flying around and they talk.
Right? Everything talks.
Everything talks.
Everything talks.
Oh my goodness. So the other, like, after seeing the garden and how amazing it is, the other mother tells Coraline that,
They
that-
say look up, and then you see the little blimp thing, right?
I think so.
Well, yeah, but this is where the other mother gives the ultimatum.
No.
Or
No.
well,
No. So what
Right.
happens is, other mother tells her, "Oh well, Mr. Bobinski's might want to
Oh,
put on a show
right,
for you."
Right,
Yeah.
that's right.
And she's like, "Oh well, I have like your friend here, so he can go with you." And she brings Wybie, the other Wybie, who has his mouth like sewn shut.
Yeah, we don't see that.
Because-
Oh, no.
We just
Like, he's
we
complete-
don't see that. He just
Sorry.
doesn't talk.
Yeah, he doesn't talk. Like, he's completely quiet. And she's like, "Oh well, I figured that you probably liked him better this way." And she was like, "Oh, honestly, I do," because again, she was just she's super dismissive towards poor Wybie, unfortunately. So they go to Mr. Bobinski's mouse show, and of course, it's absolutely fantastic. Like, there's cotton candy, like
Cotton candy
cannons.
cannons.
Yeah, there's chickens that like lay
Oh, yeah,
popcorn.
Yeah, it
They
eats the
eat
kernels
they
of
eat the
corn.
kernels, they poop it out,
Yeah.
and then it.
Trades his
Yeah.
popcorn. Yeah.
That was very clever. I really liked that.
But so it's just, again, this absolutely like fantastical show with all the mice, and it's just incredible. So after that exciting show, the other mother tells her, "Oh, like your like the neighbors downstairs,
They have a performance as
sorry,
well.
yeah, they have a performance for you as well." So they go down there, and I think one of the first things that you notice is that everyone in the audience is a Yorkie. Like, hundreds upon hundreds of Yorkies.
And
Well-
the one that helps you to your
Yep,
seat is also a Yorkie with a
Yes,
flashlight in
yes.
it.
Every single Yorkie that they ever had is alive and is doing people things,
Which-
but as dogs.
Again, it's still absolutely terrifying that there was like hundreds upon hundreds of Yorkies in that theater.
It probably smelled terrible.
Probably did.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, it almost feels like they're one of the reasons why puppy mills are like chugging along.
Oh God.
No animals were harmed in the making of this movie, as far as I know.
And we do not endorse
I mean-
puppy mills.
No, we don't.
Puppy mills are bad.
But
But oh my
But-
gosh, Rose.
the ladies, they
so
do their show.
They do their show, and it's pretty crazy because they're like mostly naked with their old like wrinkly bodies.
That's because they actually were burlesque performers. So that was a whole thing.
Interesting.
That's I think that's actually even how they met.
Well, you learned something new today.
Yeah,
There's actually a whole thing in here too. I just got to find out where I put it.
That aspect, I feel,
Screenshots.
was probably something that was mentioned in the book, but at this point, I'm trying to remember a book that I read almost 20 years ago. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like that book. Like, I did, and it
was
stuck
just
with
a long
me.
time ago.
Yes.
So they actually are performing a piece, and they recite a monologue from Hamlet. And, of course, this is kind of a hint towards the impending doom of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that I do at least remember with them is that they're very much the omens.
Mm.
Like, even in the book, like, she goes and she reads the tea leaves and things like that. And then the stuff that they do, because, I mean, again, with the nature of the voicing in the book, the scenes when it came to them was always, like, really eerie and very much was kind of not spooky, but just kind of
Ominous.
Ominous.
Yes, yes. And like the way they conduct stuff is just like, wow, that was, I think maybe I want to go somewhere that is a little bit more cheerful. So after she is finished with the ladies, and then she goes back to
Home.
her parents.
To her other parents.
Yes,
To her other parents, yes.
To other parents. Her mother is just kind of like, oh, how did you enjoy yourself? And Coraline was going on about like how amazing it was and how awesome it was. And she notices that there's like this box for her on the table.
And her mom is tapping her fingernails, waiting for her to finish. Like, hurry up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And they focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Coraline opens the box to find buttons in it. And.
But not like buttons that you press on a computer. Sewing buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, Myles.
With a needle and thread.
This is supposed to be serious.
It is.
I mean, it is serious, but yeah.
But anyway, so of course, Coraline is quite confused until the other mother explains that if she wants to stay there, she's going to have to sew the buttons onto her eyes. Now, they don't have to be black. They can be any color she wants, but she has to do it if she wants to stay there. So, of course, Coraline is just kind of incredibly, like, creeped out by this because she doesn't want to sew buttons to her eyes. So she just kind of tells the other mother, I'll just kind of think on it. I'm, like, really tired. I'm just going to go get some rest. And she goes upstairs. Like, she basically quickly hurries to her room, gets into bed, hoping that she's going to wake up in her other house. Unfortunately, she doesn't.
Nope. She tries to sleep hard, and she thinks she's awake, and she wakes up, and all the color, all of that warmth is gone, and everything is quiet and very, very ominous. And she goes out to try to find out what's going on.
And she sees that things are starting to kind of fall apart.
Yes.
So.
Like bad clothing.
Right?
Yeah.
And of course, the other father's trying to tell her, oh, we're not supposed to talk to you right now. And then he gets shut up by the piano, I think it was. Right?
Yes,
the hands from the piano.
Yeah, come and shut him up.
The piano plays you here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? They're not in Oregon. They're in Russia.
In Soviet Russia.
It's Soviet Russia. Piano plays you.
Yep. Because this is when the cat starts talking.
Yep. The cat tells Coraline about everything. And not about everything. Just kind of says, you got to wake up and realize this is not home.
He does the Cheshire Cat thing.
Yes.
Which is like, gives you really, really cryptic advice.
But doesn't tell you directly.
Yep.
Because he's a cat. I feel like it's a cat thing.
Well, I'm pretty sure the reason why is because there's a theory that the cat was actually a brother of one of the victims of the Belladon before. I won't go too far into this.
Right, because that's
and
something
this
else
is
we're
his
dig
curse,
into.
is that he has been turned into a cat.
Hmm.
But we'll go into that later.
Yes. So, of course, as things start falling apart, I believe at this point, that's when Coraline makes a break for the door.
Yeah, she leaves through the door. She actually goes through the exit that she originally came in from.
So at this point, Coraline decides to go through like the exit to her actual home in the Pink Palace. And when she gets there, she's just like happy to be home. She's like, Mom and Dad, I'm home.
And she can't find them.
No, like she goes into the kitchen and there's groceries, but all the food is just completely rotting.
Yep,
like
it's been left there for a long time.
And she can't find her parents. And it's just very distressing. It's very distressing because she has no idea where her parents are.
And then she actually builds a couple of almost mannequins out of
like cushions,
and cushions of that to kind of recreate the family dynamic in the bed, and
then she sleeps in the bed too.
That's great. I'd like to point out an interesting thing about that I realized, and I kind of pointed out to Cameron, is that in the book, she actually never at any point goes back home. She mostly stays in the other world when she does everything.
Yeah, well, so like she does go home and have that initial conversation and things like that, and talks about her other mother, but it's very much just kind of that's nice, dear.
Yeah.
I'm loving that you are having fun.
You're
taking
so
care of your
you're so creative.
Exactly.
But like
and
after
then she
that,
goes back, and then she just stays there.
Yeah.
This is Forley's mom all over again.
That is a very different thing than what we are talking about, and it's kind of hard to explain.
Not at all. She's a bitch.
Forley's mom is a bitch.
Oh.
Hey, she was sad when Forley died, okay?
I don't believe that.
She was!
Well, anyway, so in the film, she goes back, and I mean, this is also where things are interesting because the cat is able to talk in the real world, too.
So, because of this actually opens up a whole theory where she never actually left the other world.
Oh.
This is all created,
and
this is just the continuation of it. The other mother is using this to trick her.
Right.
Oh, I would actually believe that.
Yes, especially because later on, we'll get into it and I'll inform you.
All right.
So she ends up going back to the other world. She goes to sleep, right? One second here. I want to pull this open.
I'm trying to remember when does she go sees the old ladies again and they start cracking into taffy.
Yeah.
Yes.
She goes and sees them again, and she's like, I'm trying to look for something.
I'm just trying to think, is that before or after? No,
it would be about this time.
Okay, yeah, because I was just trying to think when she get thrown into the mirror, and I was like, no, this definitely happens before that.
Yeah.
But so she ends up going to see the old ladies again, and she tells them that she can't find her parents. And so they're like, oh, well, we have something that's pretty good for finding lost things. And they give her this kind of jade triangle with a circle in the middle. The interesting thing is that it almost reminds me of like a planchette, because you know how like...
That's what it is, a planchette.
The planchette.
That's exactly what it's called.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking of, the one that you use like on a Ouija board to like communicate with like the dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very important occult tool, not just for Ouija boards, but for other things. The planchette is, as used later on, you can look through it to find things you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
It's a focuser, I guess you could say. It's like, think of it like a peep sight on a Lee Enfield rifle.
Well, I mean, if you just say peep sight in general, like... You can put a peep sight on anything, and that's the point.
It gives you a peek into what you're looking for.
I want to put one of those on a blow dart.
I mean, you can.
You can, but it's like it's pointless.
You say that. You say that, Myles.
So I mean,
you can't see it, but I'm just waving my arms ferociously at Myles.
So how is it that she discovers where her parents are? Because it's also
she comes
where
back.
her parents. What also isn't there that makes her realize, oh no.
So she does go back to her house, and she can't find the doll, right?
Well, there's
And,
that.
yeah.
But
And
there
then
was,
she looks and she like knocks something over, and
I believe
her
it's-
family collects snow globes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, she knocks
Yep.
over a
One
snow
of the
globe.
snow globes
Yeah.
is gone. Or,
Oh, what happens is one of the snow globes gets knocked over, and she realizes, she looks at it, and then she looks up, and she sees her parents are like trapped in the mirror.
that's what. Yeah.
Oh yeah, in the mirror that's right, not in the snow globe. I thought it was the snow globe.
Well, they are in the snow globe, as in that's what. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like the snow globe got knocked over because her parents were trying to let her know that they are there in the mirror, right?
Yeah. But then she realizes that she has to, or is it that she realizes, or was it someone else that tells her you need to go and get them
I think that was kind of ominously hinted at by the
by the
The
cat?
cat.
well the
The
cat, and also the
ladies.
The ladies, yeah.
the burlesque women,
Yeah, the burlesque ladies. We'll just
the
call
just
them
roommates.
the just roommates burlesque women. It was heavily hinted by, like, it was kind of, again, like, hinted by both of them.
Yes,
So she goes back, equipped with, like, the planchette.
And she confronts the other mother about this and is like, "Where are my parents? I want them back."
and the other mother's like, "You're being naughty. You're
And-
going on timeout."
And throws her inside another mirror.
Which there are 3 new characters brought into the story.
Ah, yes.
Enter players 1, 2, and 3. Because Coraline would be 4.
Ah, yes. So there are 3 children.
Spirits.
There are 3 spirits in this mirror with her that turn out to actually be children that the Bellum attracted before her with the same, basically,
the same promises,
like with the same gimmicks that she pulled on her. You know, candy or love, attention. And she always knew what these children wanted because she watched them through the doll.
But the interesting thing is that they all say that the reason why they're stuck there is because she took their eyes, as in, like, they exchanged their eyes for the buttons, which means that they gave their souls to her, which is why they can't leave.
Yes.
Because, you know, the eyes are the windows to the soul, as they say.
Wow, I did not get that until you just said that.
Hey!
Wow. Like, it made sense, but now you say that, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I don't know, you
Boom.
can insert something witty from me here if you'd like. This is too easy.
But of course,
Insert witty Myles remark right here.
but of course, they tell her that she's not just going to give up anything.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily say that she has. Actually, I think they
they say-
caution her against fighting her.
No, they tell her that there is a way. It's because she likes
games.
She likes games.
Yeah.
Like she likes doing like games, bets, things like that, right?
Mhm.
So the children tell her that if she can convince the Bellum to let her try and find their eyes, or I guess basically their souls, you know, a wager, like if she finds their souls, she can to let her go, kind of dealio.
Yep, and
Let
if
me
she
and my
can't,
parents go.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, she adds that in when she is
but
talking to the other mother.
But they basically tell her just like, there's our souls. If you can try to get them back, that would be great. So Coraline tells her, well, I want to play a game. And she tells her, I'm going to look for these other children's souls. And if I find them, you have to let me and my parents go.
But then the other mother counters by saying, well, where are your parents? Like,
Well, not yet. We're not there yet. But the other Bible says that if you don't find them within the like time frame, then you have to sew the the buttons to your eyes.
You have to replace your eyes with buttons.
Yeah. You have to have button eyes.
You got to push those buttons.
You get to
Work in a factory, push them buttons.
Push them
you
buttons.
get to join the menagerie in a way.
The daily grind. But anyway, so Coraline sets off to find the other children's eyes. Which the other mother tells her that they're hidden in each one of the little miracles that she did for her.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I guess, presents that she gave her. So she sets out to the garden to go look for the children's, like, one of the children's souls. And she finds it is, I guess, the lawnmower's lever. But when she goes to get the lawnmower, everything starts freaking out and attacking her.
Because the other mother creates everything, so...
Pretty much.
I've always felt like this is kind of a introduction to puberty.
Oh,
because when she goes to get it, everything starts attacking her. And most people think that's basically when puberty starts to happen to somebody, is you always feel attacked. It's your hormones going out of control.
I just, that's how my body just feels all the time, Miles.
So
it's not even puberty.
It makes sense.
I'm not even going through puberty. It's just that's how my body just feels all the time.
See, I wasn't sure if you were going to go about that a different way, considering that she is a girl. And so it's like, oh, well, that's kind of, like unsettling to think about. I mean, because in a way you're not wrong. Like, you think about animals, like dogs and cats, when they go into heat, right? And everything comes after them.
Mm-hmm.
There's this massive, just like gang rush of like, it's this horrifying, like, oh God, there's all these things like chasing me now. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Time to beat feet. Which is what Coraline does to get away from the garden.
Yep.
That's correct.
And as soon as she collects the soul, everything just
falls
dies.
apart.
Goes all gray, and it's just
so the
nothing.
thing that I found
the battery was removed.
So the part that I found very interesting about that is when things start losing color, just the way that it looks makes me think of are you familiar that, like, when people are making like the 3D models, how they're gray and there's like the little like setup thing before like they start adding like the textures and stuff like, and it's just like these gray like models on like a computer screen.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It just felt like it was just like unrendering the textures from the model screen. Also at this point, Coraline is she is followed. At this point, Malcolm does stick with her. Like, he explains, like, while he's there, he explains to her how this world exactly works, and that the world is only as big as she wanted Coraline to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a point where she tries to just walk, like, as far as she can, and she just ends up
goes
back
into a white void first.
And then she ends up back at the house, because she only sees what the other mother wanted her to see.
And I mean, this is a bigger clue in a way. It kind of shows like the key to the other mother's downfall in a way, because she doesn't create more of the world because she doesn't think she has to.
No.
Well,
also, technically, I guess you could say that her view of the world is very limited.
That's true. Before all of this happens, when Coraline is actually going back to the other world, and she gets captured by the other mother and thrown in the mirror.
Yeah.
There's actually a small little tidbit here that really shows you that they are actually in the other world. And that is, when she's portraying Coraline's mother, she doesn't have buttons over her eyes.
Oh, that is right.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. When she first goes in there, she's like, oh, she's like, how happy? And she's like, Mom. And then all of a sudden she's like, you're not my mother.
So she never needed to have the buttons on the eyes. She chose to do that. Now, this is what another big hint of why when Coraline left this world and went back to the other world, she never actually did go back.
Mm-hmm.
She still was trapped in the other world. It was just extended and created that way by the Belladam to show, hey, look, this is all here. To lull her into a false sense of security.
Mm-hmm.
Which also means she can look like other people. Like
Mr. Robinski.
Miss Robinski, the
ladies.
The ladies, yep. The roommates. And
the
she doesn't
roommates.
have to actually have the buttons on their eyes.
No.
That's
but
part of the theory.
But they all do. I mean, they all do.
No, they did. They absolutely did have the buttons on their eyes when she was showing them to Coraline in the other world.
Yeah.
And when she wanted to say, hey, look, you're in the other world. This is the fantastical world. But when she went back to the quote-unquote real world, they didn't. Because the Belladonna knew not to do that. To make her feel like she's actually safe.
Okay, I see.
So the implication is that she just never left.
Yes.
Right.
You think she left, but she never actually left. Which means she was given all the tools to succeed because the ladies gave her the
planchette.
Which was the other mother.
So basically, the way you could think about it is that the second she opened up the door in the first place,
she unleashed.
She just basically gave her like free reign of like the Pink Palace and stuff.
I mean,
no, it's the other way around. When Coraline went into the hole, she never left the other world. She may have went to sleep and woke up and everything was different. So when she went and got her gloves and her new outfits from her mom, that was the Belladonna trying to push her away from her real mother.
Oh.
I mean, this is like good horror, right?
Yes.
This is the classic.
So by all means, you guys can turn around and say, "Oh, the book is terrifying." This show is terrifying
when you actually
take a look at it.
When you actually look at it that way, then
yeah. No, absolutely.
So let's carry on then.
Yes.
So again, I mean, this too is one of the reasons why I will say that this is like a very good adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
Like going from the novel and putting it onto screen like this, I think everything that they did does invoke the same like feeling of creepiness and that horror that the book did.
Mm-hmm. And it's in its own way, right? Especially if you like consider what Myles was talking about as like her never leaving is definitely like, okay, that actually adds like a significant amount of creepiness to this, to that realization. Because and then you realize that just like in the book, she just never left after that first time.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, getting back into, so I mean, she goes through all the steps that she has to get the souls. I mean, I'm going to try to expedite this because we're taking a while to summarize
taking a long
this
time,
movie.
yeah. I think we've actually ran fast or more than the movie by now, but
not quite.
We have a lot of this,
but we still got a lot of other things to talk about on top of it, so we got to push forward.
All right, so after Coraline finds all of, the children's souls, we finally come to the final confrontation with the Bellum, where the Bellum asks Coraline, where are her parents? So, of course, the cat tells her, you gotta be careful with how you deal with her because she can be really tricky.
She can be a sore loser.
Yeah, she can be a very sore loser. So, Coraline tells her, oh, well, they're behind the door. And of course, the Bellum, goes to check, just to show her like, oh, they're obviously not there.
And opens up the door with the key that she swallowed before. And then Coraline does the one thing I've always wanted to do in a D&D game. She grabs the cat and throws it at her. Greatest distraction ever. A live animal being thrown at you. And of course, the cat freaks out because he wasn't prepared for this and claws off her button eyes.
Yeah.
So now she can't see. And she turns the whole place into a nice, lovely spider web to try to trap Coraline and find out where she is by the vibrations.
By using the vibrations.
Which I thought was really cool because they're not traditional spider webs. They're actually made out of metal.
The flooring, actually. Yeah. The flooring.
Yes, they're made out of the flooring. But yeah, she tries to find her through vibrations, which is actually how spiders find their prey.
And I love the fact that this looked really good in 3D as well.
This is the one thing that I remember. So I hadn't seen the movie, but I remember people talking about it back in the day. And I remember some people talking about this part because people were saying this wasn't in the book, as in this whole spider web stuff. That's not how she gets out in the book, but they had to do it for the movie. And I sit there and I go, yeah, so in the book, she still does like the whole throw the cat thing, but she tricks her into and like, you know, plays on her sense of pride and arrogance and things like that, and is able to twist her just enough that she thinks she's going to win. So she opens the door, throws the cat at her, books it out, slams, and still does like the whole hand thingy, but none of the spider web stuff happens. So that was all built for, I guess, more tension and a more action in the film. Like, it doesn't take anything away as far as I'm concerned. Like,
I love the fact that you're using tension with the spider web.
What?
Everything is just bread and gravy for him at this point. Like bread and butter for him at this point.
Well, I mean...
it's all icing sugar.
I mean, but I still, I mean, again, this is like one of those things where like people talk about, you know, oh, I preferred this one, or I preferred, you know, that because it does this and it does that. And again, it's like one of those, you have to do different things for different mediums. Like, describing something like this in a book, I mean, you can do that, but it's not always required, I would feel.
No.
And in some ways, brevity is the soul of wit, so just showing and like writing down and demonstrating that Coraline was able to outsmart her, and that's how she was able to escape, and you know, we don't have to do any more than that, that's fine. Like, we're still accomplishing the same thing.
Yep.
And then in the movie, we're going to ratchet up the tension a little bit more because we want you, the audience, to just be like, oh goodness, is she still going to win?
But yes, going back to that point is that, yes, she manages to get through the door, close it off with just cutting off the Bellum's hand, and she thinks it's all over. Until the hand basically lurches to life and...
she actually grabs the doll and she wants to get rid of it.
Yes, so...
So she goes to throw it down the well.
Yes, so Coraline goes to the well to throw the fairy ring that's actually a well, to throw the doll down there, not realizing that the Bellum's hand was following her and trying to stop her. But thankfully, Wybie shows up and they manage to get the hand down the well and just close it off.
And they also threw the doll down there too, I think.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so that was how they were able to get the hand.
Yes, because they threw the doll into the well and she went after it.
Yeah, and then they closed it up and everybody was happy-go-lucky.
And then the next day they had a beautiful garden party and everyone is happy.
Everyone's saying her name correctly.
Which is part of the problem. You see, Coraline never actually escaped the other place. They all started to call her by her right name. And one thing that you learn about the Belladonna's lore is they actually survive off of
You're talking about the Beldam.
The Beldam, sorry.
Yeah.
The Beldam's lore.
The Belladonna is a different thing, Myles.
The Beldam's lore. The thing
Isn't
of
it a
the
flower?
Well, yes. I mean, there are lots of things that are called belladonnas, but not this.
So the Beldam lore is that they would trap children and live off of their love for them. What?
Here's another thing, is that when the camera is pulling out, the garden looks like her face.
Still, yes.
Mm.
So the Belladonna lives off of the love of the children.
Yeah,
That's how it feeds. It needs that love. So, of course, Coraline is happy that she's back and loving everybody, which everybody is the Belladonna. So the Belladonna actually wins.
You're just going to keep saying that. It's Beldam.
Beldam, blah. The Beldam.
I feel like at this point we should just call her Spider Mom because Myles just kind of can't get this name right.
I can't get this name right.
Well, I mean,
it was introduced to me as the Belladonna, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
I don't know who did that to you, but whatever.
It was actually how I read it. So
see,
which
that
makes sense.
I totally believe that.
So yeah, that's the two different endings that you can interpret from Coraline. Is she managed to escape the Belladonna?
Yeah,
or she Belladonna, or no, you know what, Belladonna works.
The Belladonna, yeah.
Belladonna.
Yes.
Right.
So at the end of the day, did she get out? Did she not? I think all that's important is she's happy.
Well, again, that's another great horror ending, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who, what actually happened, we don't know, and that's the fun.
Right? That's like an Inception. You don't really know if he, like, got out or if he just was in there the whole time.
Well, right, yeah. I just mean, what I always think of, actually, was the first time I saw... Oh, no, I guess it was the second Hitchcock movie I saw. First one I saw was Psycho, and the second one I saw was The Birds. So when The Birds ends, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen The Birds, they escape the city, as in they drive out, and they are able to not have the birds attack them and things like that. They don't do anything to agitate them. And literally, they get in the car, they turn the key, and they start driving away, and then it's a wipe to the end. And I remember going, what? We don't know if they actually got out. What do you mean that's the end? That's not over? And my mom said, that's the point. It's a horror movie. You're not supposed to know.
And that's
and I'm
usually
like,
the same.
I hate that.
And just kind of like now thinking on that and just like all the things that like Myles, like all the things that Myles pointed out, I think that actually makes Coraline an even better movie when you actually think about all those things, because the fact that it makes you think about those things is just one of the, again, it makes it a significant...
It's very ambiguous.
Yeah.
And that is still straight from what Neil Gaiman wrote. So, it's not really any different.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, again, it being turned into a different medium, and there are certain things that, get done a different way.
Because they translate differently.
Yeah, sure. It's still the same fundamental story.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to try to communicate it in a more applicable way. That's really all it is.
Absolutely. And I think in terms of like film adaptations of a book, Coraline is fantastic. They tried to stay true to like Neil Gaiman's like book, and I thought that was absolutely incredible, like even down to like character designs and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that should be really appreciated, because sometimes we don't always get that. Like people will sometimes just like pick and choose what they want in the book to make the movie. Or as someone pointed out to me, in the case of the Hunger Games, they basically just like ripped out that entire book and just made some kind of like weird love story that like shouldn't have really been there.
I don't know, because I never read those books.
Oh, I haven't either, but like talking to someone that has read the books, it's just like they do not like the Hunger Games movies.
Are you saying that the whole Katniss, right? That's her name, right?
Mm.
Are you
Katniss Evergreenies.
So are you saying the Katniss and the PETA thing just like never happened, or that they like spin it out even more in the movies?
Yes, Cameron, everybody knows PETA hates animals.
I remember when I found out that like, yeah, his name's not Peter, it's like PETA, and I'm like, what?
That is just Boston. Even more reason why I dislike this accent.
Anyways, well, okay.
So let's, now that the story's all over.
Yeah, I was like, I feel that there was something else that I wanted to say and said that has to do with Coraline, but I couldn't remember where we left off.
I will say that I think it does follow the song in saying that Sweet Caroline, good times never felt so good. Or never seemed so
dear.
Good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how that movie should have ended, which is like Sweet Caroline.
Basically did. So I feel like we should quickly glance over the normal topics that we do.
As in, like, who was voicing these characters and things like that?
Yes.
Incidentally,
Dakota Fanning.
I did not realize that was Dakota Fanning.
It was, yeah.
it was more
Dakota speaking.
So I knew that it was Dakota Fanning because that was like a big deal that everybody was talking about. Oh my goodness, Dakota Fanning's going to, not just be a kid, acting like a precocious child or something. And so watching this now, I sit there and I was thinking to myself, if I didn't know Dakota Fanning was in this, I would have had no idea who was voicing Coraline.
Really?
Because it didn't sound like Dakota Fanning to me.
Yeah, she did a really good job of it.
Like when I think about all the movies that she had been doing at the time and leading up to that, that's not the voice that I remember and that I think about when I think of Dakota Fanning of that era.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big surprise to me. Was it Terry Hatcher, I think?
Yep, she's the mother.
Is the mother. That was one of the voices that just like popped out to me. I'm like, whoa, I know her from watching Desperate Housewives and Lois and Clark.
I have to say though, they got for the other mother, they've got Terry Hatcher's smile in there perfectly.
I know.
That's
I know.
It's so uncanny valley. It's
God,
perfect.
that is creepy.
I know.
Wow.
So that was one of the interesting things that I found. So like regular mother with her just being all dour and just kind of depressed, or well, not depressed, but just like not happy, we'll say.
Or maybe it was that Neil Gaiman managed to capture her smile.
But then,
so well.
but then when they go and we see the other mother, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, like all of a sudden the voice and what I'm seeing here is not too far off from the actual likeness of the person that is voicing this character. Because I'm just like, I've watched Terry Hatcher enough on TV that I know what she looks like, and it's like, wow, she like actually kind of does look like her. That's kind of weird.
That's creepy.
So I have to ask you, Cameron, did you realize who voiced the cat?
It's Keith David.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our good old friend, one of the Titans.
Well, or as you like to say, Morgan Freeman at home.
Yes.
which I'm just kind of... I remember when you first said that, I'm like, what? How can you say that, Myles? Keith David is in a league of his own.
He sounds a lot like him in documentaries and that to me.
Well, okay, sure, but I mean, Keith David is Keith David.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Keith David is awesome. Like, I'm not saying that he's piggybacking off of Morgan Freeman. He's not. It's just that they kind of sound similar.
Anyway, so yeah, when I saw his name pop up in the titles at the beginning, and I'm like, Keith David, who's he going to be voicing? And then the cat shows up, and I'm like, Keith David's totally voicing the cat.
It's funny.
Yep.
Like that's totally a role he was born to do.
So now that we kind of talked about the characters and that, the main people who are in the movie, let's talk about the. Let's talk about the theme and tone. What do you guys think about the theme and tone of this movie? Was it well done? Was it overdone? Did it push too hard? Did it push too light?
Again, like with all the things that we've talked about, I think Coraline did an absolute fantastic job. And that in terms of, setting up the tones of dreariness and the gray colors and all the dull colors of the Pink Palace in her world as a contrast to the other mother's, trap, which was colorful and vibrant and full of life. Mm-hmm. And I think the movie did a fantastic job of capturing that, even like in terms of music and sound. Like when you're in the real world, it's very like a, you have that song that's kind of playing that is just kind of like, it shows you that it's kind of dreary there as compared to...
It's fantastique is the term you're looking for. It's not fantasy. It's not reality. It's not science fiction. It's its own genre. Mm-hmm. It's mystical. It's intriguing. It's a little frightening, but it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get all 5 colors in your magic card deck.
That's how I feel whenever I play a 5-color magic deck. You play changelings and it's hilarious. Trust me. You get a little piece of everything.
But you got to swap out sometime.
Never.
Oh boy.
So let's talk about the score here. What do you guys think about the music? Especially Cameron, because you're the music man.
Well, the music in this one, I'm trying to think. I don't necessarily remember the score jumping out to me too much this time. So, like, it definitely, it worked. And in some ways I almost like sit there and it's like, I feel that's enough. That's all it needed. It works.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I feel like that there perhaps is more that I should be saying, but at the same time, I'm also just kind of like, I don't know. Like, the music didn't jump out, so it wasn't anything exemplary, but it didn't take anything away either. So, it just worked nice in conjunction. I'll say that.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, as far as again, one of the interesting things, because we were like, when we were talking about characters, I'm kind of a little surprised that we didn't touch on this. So Wyby, is new for the movie. He did not exist in the book. And again, going back to what I was saying about certain things that they had to change to kind of keep tone and things like that the same, I feel that they did that so that they could try to keep some of that consistent stuff. So she doesn't really get along too well with him when she's meeting him in the real world. But then when she goes to the other world and the first time she sees him, he's got a smile on his face, but he can't talk, so he can't open his mouth, so he can't say something that will upset her or anything like that. And that, to me, when I was watching the movie, kind of made me clue in and go, so this is it. This is how you know that this is kind of an effed up place to be.
Yeah.
Because she said, I thought you'd like that, and she basically sewed a child's mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
That's messed up.
I mean, he did talk a lot.
Oh,
okay,
there's also,
sure, but
there's also
and he
the
didn't
bit.
listen.
No, there's also the whole. I forgot the whole thing about you find out that his mouth is sewn shut. Is that she actually like forces it into a smile, near the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and I mean, Coraline also opens his mouth too when they're in the process of trying to escape and everything, and he's able to talk.
Well,
now.
he doesn't say anything, but
but he can if he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
So, should we carry on to the cinematography?
Yes, the animation.
So, for me, stop motion is quite possibly one of my favorite forms of media. Mainly because what goes into it is absolutely absurd. Like, the amount of time of having to shoot frame by frame of each one of those fantastical scenes is amazing and absurd at the exact same time. And, like, it's a lot of work and dedication for an entire team to do that. Especially because, like, for every single, like, clay model, you need to make a separate head for every mouth movement, every, like, reaction. And personally, it's a thing that I admire greatly, that people are able to do it. And personally, because whenever stop motion comes up, I need to talk about Ray Harryhausen, because how do you not talk about Ray Harryhausen when you talk about stop motion?
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who don't know who that is, shame on you. Go watch Jason and the Argonauts. You will not regret it. But So what he's most famous for in terms of, again, Jason and the Argonauts is the skeleton fight in that movie. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of what that is, it's a scene where Jason and his Argonauts end up fighting these skeletons that one of the villains raises up from the dead. Now, the thing about these skeletons are that they are clay models. Now, in order to do this fight scene, the actors had to choreograph the fight without fighting anything. So the whole fight scene is choreographed with the actors. And then Ray had to watch and see how they moved and position the skeletons accordingly in a separate room in order to match up with the actors before they put them in the scene with them. And if that's not dedication to work, I don't know what is, in all honesty. Because I don't think we will ever get, like... I know it sounds weird, but I feel like that is probably a perfect scene, like, of movie, like, cinematography. The fact that we have that scene.
I'm surprised you're not also talking about Beetlejuice.
Ah, yes, Beetlejuice.
Because Beetlejuice uses a lot of stop motion.
Oh, absolutely.
And it does a great job of that as
Oh,
well.
absolutely as well. With all of the, especially like the end scene in the house when he starts like possessing everything and the snakes and stuff like that.
Yeah, the snakes from Jupiter or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Venus. It was Venus.
Yeah, it's the sand snakes of Venus. But yeah, like, in terms of like, I don't know, I feel like Ray might be the father of stop motion with that. Because he did a lot of monster stuff too for like all those old old Roman movies that they had. Again, it's just an amazing thing for people to do, and then when it actually goes off nicely, it's amazing. It's a lot of work, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's move on to the special effects, because I would like to talk about the 3D. The fact that it was all done here.
The fact that you want to continue talking about the 3D?
Yes. The thing that you talked about the whole time?
It was really great how they managed to introduce this, carry it through, and still have a part of the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really impressed with that.
Mm-hmm.
They did use some... they did use some special effects every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Or computer effects, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually blended very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you barely can even tell that they've done it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was impressed with that. Anything to add on that, Cameron?
Well, I can't comment too much on the 3D aspect of it because I wasn't able to appreciate that since I wasn't watching it in a 3D setting.
Shame.
Well, now that I know, I feel that that's something that I can try to do the next time I watch this movie, because I don't see any reason why I won't watch this movie again. It was a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, knowing is half the battle, and the other half is extreme violence.
Go, Joe!
So, what do you guys feel about the pacing of this? Because this movie was also tied in with another one that I know we're going to do eventually, called 9. And the pacing of this was excellent, in my opinion. I loved it. It didn't feel like things were dragging on. It kind of continued and flowed into itself very nicely.
Yeah.
Even down to the sleep scenes where Coraline goes to sleep.
Yeah.
Anybody want to add anything to that?
I actually agree with that, because like in terms of introducing like her neighbors and things like that, there's a decent pacing to it. Like you get an idea of who these people are. It's not overextended. You just, again, because through their actions and things like that, you see how eccentric these people are. Again, like also then with the small little details and like things like that. But they don't overextend their welcome. They give you a brief idea of who these characters are through like their dialogue, what they do,
What they have around them.
what they have
their
around
clothing.
them. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then they move on to like something else to continue the pacing, or when they introduce the next character, they do the exact same thing. So they do keep the movie rolling. Like there's no drag in this movie, and I think I appreciate that about it.
Yes, we gotta let the good times roll. Now, the last thing is dialogue. Personally, believe it or not, I think the dialogue could have been better. It does have a lot of good dialogue, but there are points that kind of stop and kind of almost pulled me out of it.
Do you remember which times specifically? Which points those were?
Part of it is Bobzinski's accent.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it was good, but it felt like a lot of his rambling was just to show off his accent. And I felt that was kind of I don't know. I feel like that, to me, it just wasn't necessary to me. There are a couple of other things, like I believe the way that the people sound with the other parents.
Mm-hmm.
The other parents, especially the other father, his over-the-top goofiness sort of voice.
Uh-huh.
I think they pushed it too hard.
Okay, I can actually see that.
Like, it kind of... It just stung me the wrong way, I guess you could say.
Well, that was the point of it, but...
No, like, I wanted to be creeped out by it.
But it was just kind
but
of
it
like...
was just
but it
like...
wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just like... It was odd, and I didn't really like that.
Mm-hmm.
So...
and
Wyborn... I don't know. Wyborn was a character.
He was there.
He was there.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what he definitely felt like, was that he was there. He was there to move plot along, and that was basically his purpose. Unfortunately, that's what he felt like.
He's working in the plot fields.
Yep.
Just plotting away.
That's why his name is Wyborn. Why were you born? To move the plot along. That is why he was born.
So, I guess what we can say after all this is we all liked the movie.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would all watch it again.
Oh, yeah.
Great, we're going to review it next year. No. No, we'll review the second one.
The second one? What are you talking about?
I'm joking. No, there isn't a second one. Everybody wishes there would be a second one, but they're not coming out with that.
No. I feel like
sad.
it would kind of wreck it personally, because again, now that we have this open-endedness of, did she actually escape? Did
Exactly.
she? And I feel like that would rob from it if there was a sequel.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you don't touch it. You don't touch it anymore. You leave it as it is.
Like a pure Star Wars fan.
Oh,
Okay, well, I
jeez.
think that's the end of this. We've been on this for quite a while, and we got to get all going. But thanks for
I
stopping by
apologize.
and listening to us. I'm Myles.
I'm Cam.
I'm special guest star host Kimmy.
And we'll catch you next time.
See ya.